Good morning to you. I'm Jessica Brown. Today, City Line is going to the theater. We are sharing 3 productions on stages right now in Boston, covering a variety of themes, but with a common thread. The productions we are focusing on are Asian written, Asian led, and centered stories. The first production is called Sardines, a comedy starring Chris Grace, but the topic may not sound all that funny.
This show is me talking about death and dying for about 45 minutes. Then there is a sentimental audio cue. Then there is a meta-theatrical trick. And then there's a preachy bit. And then it's over. So now you know how it ends. It's really your challenge to see if you can enjoy it.
Yeah, okay, so Chris assures us that we'll laugh at the personal reflections of life and death. Chris, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having us. I thought the intergenerational relationship was about me. My husband's 49 and he often says we're different generations.
Oh, wow.
I'm 52, it's only 3 years difference.
Just a few years. Let's talk about this show, right? But first things first, people may recognize you from stand-up comedy or the sitcom Superstore.
Right.
Sardines, though, is a one-man comedy show, which feels like a lot of pressure, not a stand-up special. Kind of explain the distinction there.
Honestly, sometimes the distinction is what venue I'm in.
Okay.
So at the Huntington Theatre, it's theater. If I'm doing it in a basement in Scotland, then it's stand-up.
I love it.
But it's sort of a hybrid between the two.
You spend the show reflecting on how we deal with hard things. We talked about death. We saw a clip there. You experienced a lot of loss in your life. Why did you choose this topic for this show?
Well, in some ways, this topic chose me, I think, because of the stuff that happened to me. And I think the stuff I've made has typically just been about what's going on in my life. And so, in a sense, it sort of becomes unavoidable. I knew I'd have to make a show about this at some point. And so it became the next biggest thing that I wanted to talk about, basically. That's how I chose it.
Kind of share with us a little bit about the personal connection that you do share. You are being vulnerable, but in a funny way.
Yeah. I think part of it is that essentially I lost a number of family members in a pretty quick succession of years. And in a way, the show is sort of like if you and I just sat down and I told you, if we just met,
right,
which we just did,
and
I wanted to dump everything that had happened to me on you in an hour. That's sort of what the show is, but also in the natural conversation that we would have about it, I would probably make jokes, and I've always had a dark sense of humor, so this show is really me in terms of how I would express myself about those things. And so I think if this had happened to someone else, and if they did a 1-hour show about it, it might come out in a different way. But this is really like it's not only personal in subject matter, it's personal in its delivery as well.
Wow. What do you hope the viewers, the folks who come out to see your show, take away when they experience and hear your story in your own way?
Yeah, a lot of people obviously relate to the show because of their own lives. Every once in a while, I meet somebody who doesn't relate at all, and to them, I just envy them. But mostly, I want people to come out thinking that no matter what has happened to us, if we're alive, we still have an opportunity to do something, you know? And sometimes I think, honestly, the show is in many ways for me because it's a reminder to myself that I have survived these things and will survive them, and that nobody that I've lost in my life would want me to give up, you know?
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of looking at it. I know that comes through when you do your show. I do want to mention it's a comedy show.
Yeah.
No one is spared in this show, even your husband, Eric, right? He's the director of this play, but also one of the subjects that you talk about on stage. I'm curious about your creative process with that. Are there challenges when it comes to working together?
Officially, no challenges at all. We get along great.
No one saw your face when you did that.
Okay, yeah, good. I was holding up it's going great. No, we actually get along really well. But we're also both artists. We're both theater creators, and I've directed him in shows, and he's directed me in shows. So we're verse. Sorry, it's in the morning. But it's been great. What's actually very interesting is that he and I don't share 100% the same taste in theater or comedy. And so what I like about that is that I have often found if I make a show that's completely tailored to what I think is enjoyable, it can sometimes end up being like a little bit niche. And so if I can cover what I think is good and what Eric thinks is good, then I'm pretty confident that I have a show that a lot of people are going to like.
More widely received in that way.
Yeah.
Let's talk about family relationships, because you mentioned it briefly. I mean, they're complicated. You talk about the loss of your father. Can you share some of those contributing factors of how that comes into the show and how you grieved his loss?
Well, my father and I have a very complicated relationship mostly because I was going to say I was gay, because I am gay, because when I told him, he wasn't super supportive of that. And that's definitely a part of the show. And so we were estranged for a long time, then we reconnected, and it was an interesting timing thing where we sort of reconnected just in time for him to pass away. And so that's always been an interesting conundrum in my mind of, was it more painful to like have that reconnection and then lose him? Ultimately, I'm grateful that I did, because it deepened the relationship, but it's still to this day pretty complicated. I don't think we have time to get through all of this.
Yeah, no.
Unless you want to go for a full session of therapy right now.
No, we appreciate you sharing, because I think a lot of people understand what grief looks like and have gone through different losses. So I think it's great to hear your perspective and your way of sharing that. The show is called Sardines. Curious how you came up with that title for the show, because I keep thinking, okay, tinned fish, comedy
tinned fish
of
is
grief.
definitely a part of it.
Okay.
I hand every audience member a tin of fish, and we all have to eat it. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's audience participation. Actually, it originally started as this idea that right after some of the people in my life died, I'm also an actor and comedian, and I noticed the next 12 months after that at any time, if I wanted to, I could like start crying at any point. I had this like deep well of sadness that I had instant access to, which actually as an actor is somewhat useful. And I realized that it was sort of like this gift I'd been given that I wouldn't really want. And I thought of it as being like given a lifetime supply of sardines. Like, yes, you could eat on it, but would you want to? Probably not. So it was this sort of like complicated thing. And then also there's a relationship to the Child's Game sardines as well as in the show. I don't know if you ever played that as a kid. You got to come and find out. It's basically a version of hide and seek, and we talk about it in the show. And the idea of being fish in a can also is related to.
We appreciate you for sharing more about this show and about your journey as well, and we really appreciate your time here. By the way, Sardines is on stage at the Mosso Studio at the Huntington Theater through November 16th. You don't want to miss it.